We often think we're making progress on our spiritual journey, growing and becoming more aware. But what if I told you that one of the biggest challenges in deep realization is something we do without even knowing it? It's like trying to see clearly through a foggy mirror, but the fog is created by our own minds. This hidden obstacle can stop us from truly understanding ourselves and the world around us. This challenge I'm talking about is self-deception. It's when we trick ourselves into believing things that aren't true. We might think we're being honest with ourselves, but deep down, we're hiding from the truth. It's like having a blind spot in our mind that we can't see, no matter how hard we try. Self-deception is a big deal because it can hold us back from real spiritual growth. When we can't see ourselves clearly, it's hard to make real changes or understand deep truths about life. It's like trying to climb a mountain with your eyes closed. You might think you're making progress, but you could be going in circles without realizing it. One reason self-deception is so common is that it can make us feel better in the short term. It's often more comfortable to believe a pleasant lie than to face a difficult truth. For example, we might tell ourselves we're happy in a job we actually hate because the idea of changing careers is scary. Or we might convince ourselves we're always kind to others, ignoring the times when we've been selfish or hurtful. But this comfort comes at a price. When we deceive ourselves, we create a gap between who we think we are and who we really are. This gap can cause a lot of problems. It can lead to confusion, unhappiness, and a feeling of being stuck. We might wonder why we're not making progress in our spiritual practice, not realizing that we're the ones holding ourselves back. What makes self-deception so tricky is that it's often very subtle. It's not like we wake up one day and decide to lie to ourselves. Instead, it happens slowly, over time, in small ways that are hard to notice. We might ignore small signs that something isn't right, or make excuses for our behavior without realizing it. Before we know it, we've built up a whole set of beliefs about ourselves and the world that don't match reality. Our ego plays a big part in self-deception. The ego is the part of us that wants to feel special, important, and in control. It doesn't like admitting mistakes or facing hard truths, so it works hard to protect our self-image, even if that means bending the truth. For example, if we make a mistake at work, our ego might convince us it was someone else's fault, so we don't have to feel bad about ourselves. To overcome self-deception, we need to develop real self-awareness. This means being willing to look at ourselves honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about asking tough questions and being open to answers we might not like. This isn't easy. It takes courage and practice, but it's essential for genuine spiritual growth. Being honest with ourselves is powerful. When we start to see ourselves more clearly, we can make real changes. We can understand our true motivations, face our fears, and work on our weaknesses. This honesty opens the door to deeper wisdom and more authentic relationships with others. Overcoming self-deception is a journey, not a one-time event. It's about slowly peeling back layers of illusion to reveal our true selves. This process can be challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Each time we face a truth about ourselves, we grow stronger and wiser. There are many tools we can use to increase our self-awareness and reduce self-deception. Meditation is a powerful practice that can help us observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. Journaling can also be helpful, allowing us to explore our inner world and spot patterns we might miss otherwise. Getting honest feedback from others can be a valuable way to check our self-perceptions. Sometimes our friends or family can see things about us that we can't see ourselves. Being open to this feedback, even when it's hard to hear, can help us grow and overcome self-deception. One key to overcoming self-deception is learning to question our beliefs. We often hold on to ideas about ourselves and the world without examining them. By asking, "Is this really true?" or "How do I know this?" we can start to uncover hidden assumptions and false beliefs. As we try to become more self-aware, we might notice our ego putting up a fight. It might make excuses, try to distract us, or even make us feel bad for questioning ourselves. This resistance is normal, but it's important to push through it gently but firmly. As we uncover truths about ourselves, it's crucial to approach this process with compassion. We're all human, and we all have flaws and make mistakes. Being kind to ourselves as we face these truths makes it easier to be honest and make real changes. Self-deception doesn't just affect us, it can also impact our relationships with others. When we're not honest with ourselves, it's hard to be truly honest with other people. By working on our self-awareness, we can build deeper, more authentic connections with those around us. From a spiritual perspective, overcoming self-deception is about aligning ourselves with truth. Many spiritual traditions teach that truth is a fundamental aspect of reality or the divine. By committing to honesty with ourselves, we're also deepening our spiritual practice. Although facing the truth about ourselves can be scary at first, it ultimately leads to a sense of freedom. When we're no longer bound by false beliefs or hidden fears, we can live more fully and authentically. This freedom allows us to make choices based on who we really are, not who we think we should be. Overcoming self-deception isn't something we do once and then forget about. It's an ongoing practice, a way of living that involves constant self-reflection and honesty. Over time, this practice becomes easier and more natural, but it always requires our attention and effort. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for overcoming self-deception. By learning to be present in the moment and observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, we can start to see ourselves more clearly. Mindfulness helps us notice when we're slipping into patterns of self-deception and gives us the space to choose a different path. One reason we often deceive ourselves is to avoid pain. We might ignore problems in our relationships, deny our own negative feelings, or avoid thinking about difficult aspects of our lives. While this can provide temporary relief, it ultimately leads to more suffering. Learning to face our pain honestly is a crucial part of overcoming self-deception. Humility plays a big part in overcoming self-deception. When we're humble, we're more open to seeing ourselves accurately, including our flaws and mistakes. This doesn't mean putting ourselves down, but rather having a balanced, realistic view of who we are. Being vulnerable, allowing ourselves to be seen honestly, without pretense, is both challenging and powerful. When we drop our masks and admit our struggles, fears, and imperfections, we open the door to real growth and deeper connections with others. Self-deception can have a big impact on how we make decisions. When we're not honest with ourselves, we might make choices based on false beliefs or hidden fears. By working to see ourselves more clearly, we can make decisions that truly align with our values and goals. As we work on overcoming self-deception, it's important to practice self-compassion. This means treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, even when we discover things about ourselves that we don't like. Self-compassion helps us face the truth without getting overwhelmed or discouraged. One tricky aspect of self-deception is that we might be honest with ourselves in some areas of life, but not in others. For example, we might be very honest about our work habits, but deceive ourselves about our relationships. Striving for consistency in our self-awareness across all areas of life is an important part of this journey. Overcoming self-deception takes time. We might have spent years or even decades building up layers of false beliefs and defense mechanisms. It's important to be patient with ourselves as we work to unravel these patterns. Change happens slowly, but with consistent effort, it does happen. Self-deception can have a big impact on our emotional health. When we're not honest with ourselves, we might suppress our true feelings or experience confusion and inner conflict. As we work on being more honest, we often find that our emotional life becomes clearer and more balanced. Sometimes we deceive ourselves to fit in with others or meet social expectations. We might pretend to like things we don't really enjoy or hide parts of ourselves that we think others won't accept. Recognizing and resisting this social pressure is an important part of overcoming self-deception. Approaching ourselves with curiosity can be a powerful way to overcome self-deception. Instead of judging or criticizing ourselves, we can cultivate a sense of genuine interest in our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This curious attitude makes it easier to explore our inner world honestly. Self-deception can significantly slow down our personal growth. When we're not honest about our strengths and weaknesses, it's hard to know what we need to work on or how to improve. By committing to honesty with ourselves, we open up new possibilities for growth and development. Many of our self-deceptions are deeply ingrained habits of thought and behavior. Changing these habits can be challenging and requires consistent effort. It's like training a muscle. The more we practice honesty and self-awareness, the stronger these skills become. Having support from others can be crucial in overcoming self-deception. This might involve working with a therapist, joining a support group, or simply having honest conversations with trusted friends. Sometimes others can help us see things about ourselves that we've been missing. Self-deception can cloud our sense of purpose and meaning in life. We might pursue goals that don't really align with our true values or avoid pursuing our dreams out of fear. As we become more honest with ourselves, we often find a clearer sense of what truly matters to us and what we want to do with our lives. Overcoming self-deception often involves letting go of old beliefs, habits, and even relationships that no longer serve us. This process of letting go can be scary, but it's necessary for real growth. It's about making space for new, more authentic ways of being. As we uncover truths about ourselves, we might realize ways we've hurt ourselves or others through our self-deception. Practicing forgiveness, both for ourselves and others, is an important part of this journey. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but rather freeing ourselves from resentment and blame. Self-deception can significantly impact our spiritual practice. We might fool ourselves about our progress, avoid facing difficult truths, or use spiritual ideas to escape reality rather than engage with it. By committing to honesty, we can deepen our spiritual practice and make it more authentic. As we work on overcoming self-deception, we face the challenge of balancing self-acceptance with the desire for change. It's important to accept ourselves as we are, while also recognizing areas where we want to grow and improve. Finding this balance is a key part of the journey. Developing a habit of regular self-reflection can be very helpful in overcoming self-deception. This might involve setting aside time each day or week to check in with ourselves, asking honest questions about our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. As we become more honest with ourselves, we often find that our overall satisfaction with life increases. Even though we might face some difficult truths, the sense of living authentically and in alignment with our true selves can bring a deep sense of fulfillment. Our society often sends messages that encourage self-deception. We're bombarded with unrealistic standards of success, beauty, and happiness. Learning to recognize and question these messages is an important part of maintaining honesty with ourselves. Our bodies often hold wisdom that our minds overlook. Learning to tune into physical sensations and feelings can be a powerful way to cut through mental self-deception. Our bodies often react to the truth even when our minds are trying to avoid it. Self-deception can stifle our creativity by keeping us stuck in old patterns and fears. As we become more honest with ourselves, we often find that our creative expression becomes freer and more authentic. We might discover new forms of creativity we never knew we had. One reason we often deceive ourselves is to create a false sense of certainty in an uncertain world. Learning to face and embrace uncertainty is a key part of overcoming self-deception. It involves developing the courage to say, "I don't know," and to be okay with that. Spending time in nature can be a powerful aid in overcoming self-deception. Nature often provides a mirror that reflects our true selves back to us, free from the distractions and pretenses of daily life. It can help us reconnect with our authentic selves and gain perspective on our lives. For those in leadership positions, overcoming self-deception is particularly important. Leaders who are honest with themselves are better able to make sound decisions, inspire trust, and create positive change. Self-aware leaders can build more effective and harmonious teams and organizations. Many of our self-deceptions are rooted in cultural conditioning, beliefs and behaviors we've absorbed from our society without questioning. Recognizing and examining these cultural influences is an important part of the journey towards self-honesty. Engaging with art and literature can be a powerful way to gain insights into ourselves and overcome self-deception. Stories, paintings, and other forms of art often reflect aspects of the human experience that can help us see ourselves more clearly. As we become more honest with ourselves, we often find that we take greater personal responsibility for our lives. Instead of blaming others or circumstances for our problems, we're more able to see our own role in creating our experiences. Even as we make progress in overcoming self-deception, we may find ourselves slipping back into old patterns at times. This is normal and doesn't mean we've failed. The key is to recognize when this happens and gently guide ourselves back to honesty. Practicing gratitude can help us maintain a balanced perspective as we work on overcoming self-deception. By appreciating the good in our lives, we create a positive foundation that makes it easier to face difficult truths about ourselves. Many spiritual traditions teach that overcoming self-deception is a crucial step on the path to awakening or enlightenment. By committing to honesty with ourselves, we open the door to deeper spiritual insights and experiences. As we peel away layers of self-deception, we might experience what some traditions call ego death. a profound shift in our sense of self. This can be a challenging and even frightening experience, but it often leads to a more expansive and authentic way of being. Being part of a community that values honesty and self-awareness can be incredibly supportive in overcoming self-deception. When we're surrounded by others who are also committed to this journey, it becomes easier to maintain our own practice. While overcoming self-deception is a personal journey, it has wider implications. As more individuals commit to honesty and self-awareness, it creates ripple effects in families, communities, and society as a whole. In this way, our personal work contributes to positive global change. The first step in overcoming self-deception is developing a deep sense of self-awareness. This means learning to observe our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors without judgment. It's like becoming a friendly detective in our own minds, always curious and open to what we might discover. One of the best ways to build self-awareness is through mindfulness practice. This doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and observe our breath. As we do this, we start to notice the constant stream of thoughts and feelings that flow through our minds. A key aspect of self-awareness is learning to pause before reacting. When we feel a strong emotion or have a sudden thought, instead of immediately acting on it, we can take a moment to step back and observe. This pause gives us the space to choose how we want to respond rather than just reacting automatically. Writing down our thoughts and feelings can be a powerful tool for increasing self-awareness. When we journal, we often uncover patterns or beliefs that we hadn't noticed before. It's like shining a light into the corners of our mind, revealing things that were hidden in the shadows. Our bodies often know things that our minds haven't caught up to yet. Learning to tune into physical sensations can provide valuable insights. For example, we might notice tension in our shoulders when we're stressed, even if we're telling ourselves we're fine. Paying attention to these bodily cues can help us uncover hidden truths. As we become more self-aware, we might encounter uncomfortable truths about ourselves. It's important to approach these discoveries with kindness and curiosity rather than harsh judgment. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect, but to understand ourselves better. Regular meditation practice can significantly boost our self-awareness. As we sit with ourselves day after day, we start to see the patterns of our mind more clearly. We might notice how often we criticize ourselves or how we tend to worry about the future. This awareness is the first step to making changes. While self-reflection is crucial, it's also valuable to seek feedback from others. Sometimes our friends, family, or colleagues can see things about us that we're blind to. Being open to hearing their perspectives, even when it's challenging, can provide important insights. Developing a habit of questioning our thoughts and beliefs is a powerful way to increase self-awareness. We can ask ourselves things like, "Is this really true?" Or, "Where did I learn to believe this?" These questions can help us uncover hidden assumptions and biases. In today's world, technology can often distract us from self-awareness. Taking regular breaks from our devices and being mindful of how we use technology can help us stay connected with ourselves. We might set aside tech-free times each day to focus on self-reflection. Spending time alone, without distractions, can be crucial for developing self-awareness. This doesn't mean we need to become hermits, but regularly carving out some quiet time for ourselves can help us hear our inner voice more clearly. The second key to overcoming self-deception is practicing radical honesty. This means being truthful with ourselves and others, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about facing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Radical honesty doesn't mean we need to suddenly spill all our secrets. We can start small by being truthful about little things. Maybe we admit to ourselves that we don't really enjoy a hobby we've been pretending to like, or we tell a friend how we really feel about something. Being honest with ourselves can be even harder than being honest with others. We often have deeply ingrained beliefs about who we are or who we should be. Challenging these beliefs takes courage, but it's essential for growth. Radical honesty often involves being vulnerable. When we share our true thoughts and feelings, we open ourselves up to potential judgment or rejection. But this vulnerability also creates the possibility for deeper connections and personal growth. Practicing radical honesty in our relationships can be transformative. It might mean having difficult conversations or admitting to mistakes. While this can be challenging in the short term, it often leads to stronger, more authentic relationships in the long run. In our professional lives, honesty can sometimes feel risky. We might worry about the consequences of admitting to a mistake or expressing an unpopular opinion. But in the long run, a reputation for honesty and integrity is invaluable. Radical honesty doesn't mean being brutal or unkind. We can be truthful while still being considerate of others' feelings. It's about finding a balance between honesty and compassion. Perhaps the most important aspect of radical honesty is being truthful with ourselves. This means acknowledging our fears, our shortcomings, and our true desires. It's about facing the parts of ourselves that we might prefer to ignore. Sometimes, social expectations can make it hard to be honest. We might feel pressure to agree with others or to present a certain image of ourselves. Learning to resist these pressures and stay true to ourselves is an important part of radical honesty. When we commit to radical honesty, we open the door to significant personal growth. By facing the truth about ourselves and our lives, we create the opportunity for real change and development. While being radically honest can be challenging, it also brings a sense of freedom. When we're no longer carrying the burden of lies or half-truths, we often feel lighter and more authentic. The third key to overcoming self-deception is developing emotional intelligence. This means learning to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions effectively. The first step in developing emotional intelligence is learning to identify our emotions accurately. This might seem simple, but many of us struggle to distinguish between different feelings or to recognize more subtle emotional states. Our emotions aren't just mental experiences, they have physical components too. Learning to recognize how emotions feel in our bodies can help us become more emotionally intelligent. For example, we might notice that anxiety causes tension in our chest, or that happiness brings a feeling of lightness. A crucial aspect of emotional intelligence is learning to regulate our emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing our feelings, but rather learning to manage them in healthy ways. It might involve techniques like deep breathing, mindfulness, or cognitive reframing. Emotional intelligence isn't just about understanding our own emotions, it's also about being able to recognize and respond to the emotions of others. Developing empathy can help us navigate social situations more effectively and build stronger relationships. Regular self-reflection is key to developing emotional intelligence. Taking time to think about our emotional responses to different situations can help us understand our patterns and triggers. Being honest about our emotions, both with ourselves and others, is an important part of emotional intelligence. This might mean admitting when we're feeling hurt or angry rather than trying to hide these feelings. Our emotional patterns are often shaped by our childhood experiences. Understanding how our upbringing has influenced our emotional responses can be a powerful tool for growth. Learning to view our emotions as sources of information rather than problems to be solved can be transformative. Our feelings often have important messages for us if we learn to listen. Sometimes we experience conflicting emotions, which can be confusing and lead to self-deception. Learning to acknowledge and sit with these contradictory feelings is an important skill. As we develop emotional intelligence, we often find that it helps us make better decisions. By understanding our emotional responses, we can avoid making choices based on temporary feelings or unconscious biases. The fourth key to overcoming self-deception is the practice of mindful self-reflection. This involves taking time to consciously examine our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors with a sense of openness and curiosity. Setting aside time for regular self-reflection is crucial. This might be a daily practice, like journaling before bed, or a weekly ritual of quiet contemplation. The key is consistency, allowing us to track our patterns and progress over time. To practice effective self-reflection, it's important to create a safe, judgment-free space for ourselves. This might be a physical space, like a quiet corner of our home, or a mental space where we allow ourselves to be fully honest without fear of criticism. Asking ourselves probing questions is a powerful tool for self-reflection. We might ask things like, "Why did I react that way?" Or, "What am I afraid of in this situation?" These questions can help us dig deeper into our motivations and beliefs. It's important to reflect not just on our challenges, but also on our successes. What went well? What strengths did we demonstrate? At the same time, we can examine our difficulties with compassion, asking what we can learn from them. As we practice self-reflection, it's crucial to approach ourselves with a sense of non-judgment. We're not trying to criticize or berate ourselves, but rather to understand ourselves more deeply. There are many different techniques we can use for self-reflection. Some people find writing helpful. Others prefer talking things through with a trusted friend or therapist. We might also use meditation, art, or movement as ways to reflect on our experiences. Self-reflection gives us an opportunity to check in with our core values. Are we living in alignment with what's most important to us? If not, what changes might we need to make? One of the biggest challenges in self-reflection is being truly honest with ourselves. It's easy to fall into patterns of self-justification or denial. Committing to radical honesty, even when it's uncomfortable, is key to effective self-reflection. Our relationships often provide rich material for self-reflection. How do we show up in our interactions with others? What patterns do we notice in our relationships? This kind of reflection can lead to profound insights and growth. Incorporating gratitude into our self-reflection practice can help balance our perspective. While it's important to examine our challenges, it's equally valuable to acknowledge what's going well in our lives. The ultimate goal of self-reflection is not just to gain insights, but to integrate them into our daily lives. As we uncover truths about ourselves, we can make conscious choices to align our actions with our deepest values and aspirations. Now that we've explored the 4 keys to overcoming self-deception, let's look at some practical steps we can take to put these principles into action. Overcoming self-deception is a big task, and it's important not to overwhelm ourselves. We can start with small, manageable changes. Maybe we commit to 5 minutes of mindfulness practice each day, or to writing down one honest observation about ourselves before bed. This journey is challenging, and having support can make a big difference. This might mean working with a therapist, joining a support group, or simply sharing our goals with a trusted friend. Having someone to talk to can provide encouragement and accountability. As we uncover truths about ourselves, it's crucial to approach this process with compassion. We're all human, and we all have flaws and make mistakes. Being kind to ourselves as we face these truths makes it easier to be honest and make real changes. Consistency is key in overcoming self-deception. Developing a regular practice of self-reflection, mindfulness, or journaling can help us stay connected with ourselves and track our progress over time. We all have assumptions and beliefs that we take for granted. Make a habit of questioning these assumptions. Ask yourself, how do I know this is true? Or, what evidence do I have for this belief? Growth often involves discomfort. As we face truths about ourselves that we've been avoiding, we might feel anxious or upset. It's important to recognize that this discomfort is a normal part of the process and to push through it gently but firmly. As you make progress in overcoming self-deception, take time to acknowledge and celebrate your growth. This isn't about becoming perfect, but about becoming more aware and honest with yourself. Overcoming self-deception is a lifelong journey. Be patient with yourself and recognize that change takes time. Small, consistent steps can lead to significant transformation over time. Start incorporating more honesty into your daily life. This might mean admitting when you've made a mistake, expressing your true feelings, or acknowledging when you don't know something. Regularly check in with your core values. Are your actions aligned with what's most important to you? If not, what changes can you make to bring your life into better alignment with your values? Overcoming self-deception is one of the biggest challenges in deep realization, but it's also one of the most rewarding journeys we can undertake. By cultivating self-awareness, embracing radical honesty, developing emotional intelligence, and practicing mindful self-reflection, we can begin to see ourselves and the world around us more clearly. This journey isn't always easy. It requires courage to face truths we've been avoiding and persistence to keep going even when it's uncomfortable. But the rewards are profound. As we peel away layers of self-deception, we often find a deeper sense of peace, more authentic relationships, and a clearer sense of purpose. Remember, this is a lifelong process. We don't suddenly reach a point where we're completely free from self-deception. Instead, we develop the tools and awareness to recognize and address it as it arises. Each step we take towards greater honesty and self-awareness is a victory, bringing us closer to living a life of authenticity and deep realization. As you continue on this path, be kind to yourself. Celebrate your progress, learn from your setbacks, and always keep moving forward. The journey of overcoming self-deception is ultimately a journey of self-discovery and growth. It's about becoming more fully yourself and living a life that's true to your deepest values and aspirations. In the end, The challenge of overcoming self-deception is really an invitation to live more honestly, more fully, and more authentically. It's an invitation to discover who you really are, beyond the stories and illusions you've created. And while this journey may be one of the biggest challenges in deep realization, it's also one of the most meaningful and transformative paths we can choose to walk.